Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. That's Ready Homeschool. My name is Mrs. T. I'm really happy to be here today because I want to talk about something kind of silly. I want to talk about the evolution of our schedule this year. Yes, we have only just finished September here, but we've gone through 4 schedules. So I want to talk about how we use scheduling in our family. I want to show you the evolution. I want to talk about the pros of evaluating your schedule, and yeah, I just want to talk all things schedule. And then at the end of that conversation, it's actually going to naturally lead into how things are going in September. So September updates coming at the end of that. Now, I totally understand a schedule is not going to make or break your homeschool year. It just is not, right? There are really 2 things that I feel like contribute the most to a successful school year. The first is the attitude of the people that are in your home, including yourself as the teacher, right? We are more likely to have a successful year if we're feeling positive and gracious in our day-to-day. So our attitudes, but also consistency. The more consistent you are, I feel like the more likely it is that your homeschool year will be successful. So I get it. Schedules are not going to make or break a homeschool. However, I am a checklist sort of girl, and I find that schedules, routines, flows, whatever you want to call it, work really well for me personally to help keep me accountable and help keep me consistent. So I want to flip you around. I want to walk you through the schedules that we've had so far. Like I said, we've had 4 so far this school year, and I want to talk about how long we've had each schedule, why we've made changes, and kind of show you how it has evolved to where we are today. So let's go ahead and turn around and start with schedule number 1. This is my very first schedule that I had created. It was used from the beginning of our school year, which started in July, and was used all the way through the end of August. Now, this schedule was meant to be a perfect schedule. In other words, I was not expecting for this schedule to be the end all be all. I was not expecting us to check off everything on this list, but rather I was expecting us to acquire data to help tell me how we needed to balance our resources a little bit better. So this schedule is broken down by the days of the week, Monday through Friday. And we have these subcategories of subjects. So you can see language arts, math, world languages, science, social studies, the arts, and miscellaneous things. Things that we were going to go to, like piano, for example, or martial arts, these are highlighted. These are specific time commitments that we had to go to on certain days. And then the other thing to note is that this is curriculum driven. This is a curriculum schedule. In other words, not only are we doing all about reading 4 days a week, but we are scheduling to do it specifically Monday through Thursday. So it's a little bit rigid. And the way that we were planning on using it is as a retrospective way to evaluate the balance of our homeschool. So I use a 2-sided notebook here. I jot down what we do for each student, and then I cross out those things on the days that we did it to help determine the accuracy of this ideal schedule. So this worked really well. It gave me a lot of information, but it became clear that we did need to make some adjustments as expected, which leads me to our second schedule. So our second schedule, I made a little bit prettier, number 1. And number 2, I tried a new format. Before I was using a single, you can actually see here, this is the schedule I had. I had it inside this little sheet here, so that way I could use a dry erase marker, and I liked it. But the problem is with a single sheet is it doesn't have my pre-kindergartners, so I wanted to also create a pre-kindergartner schedule. So let's look at now schedule number 2. Now, schedule number 2, I created the first week in September, and it is in a menu. So the first page of our menu is actually going to have a breakdown of our morning routine. We were doing this routine in the month of July and August, but it wasn't explicitly stated. And I thought it would be a fun place to kind of put a general routine for me to review. Then I had my pre-kindergarten schedule created for the first time. You can see it's colorful. It is definitely prettier than the last one. And but it was very similar in the sense that it's Monday through Friday. It's broken down by subject. And then in that subject breakdown, we actually have curriculum. So we are saying, for example, that math with confidence is going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, not Thursday. We are making that determination before, so this is a curriculum-driven schedule as well. Now let's flip over to the first grade side so we can do a little comparison here. So you'll see that there's a lot that's in common between the original schedule and this one, but some big changes here is how we were evaluating our world languages. So in the month of July and August, it became relatively apparent that I was signing us up for too much of our world language curriculum on our days. So I changed it so that way we're doing French Monday and Wednesday, Tuesday and Thursday was going to be Spanish, and then Wednesday and Friday was sign language. So that's less than what we had originally signed up for. So this is what we had. And you guys, it was going well for that single week. However, the second week in September, you guys, it was a really, really tough week here in our home and our homeschool. And without going in too much detail, you know, my oldest child does struggle with identifying emotions and coping with emotions, particularly tough emotions, and regulating it. And typically we're able to work through the emotional learning and help him evaluate and process how we are feeling on a day-to-day. But occasionally, you guys, we have just really tough moments and really tough weeks. And the second week in September was really tough. So it ended up actually sparking a lot of conversations where my son and I sat down and we talked about, you know, we needed to pause the bulk of our schoolwork so we could really hone in on evaluating how we are feeling and work through that. Because at the end of the day, no learning can happen when we're feeling crummy, right? And we were just feeling crummy. So I worked with him and we created our third schedule. So yes, schedule number 2 was only used for a week. But we sat together and we created our third schedule. So let's look at this one. And he sat down with me to do this. So you can see this is entirely different than the first 2 schedules. It's big text that my child can read. It has pictures. It's supposed to make it fun and light. This is also one that I kept inside of a dry erase sleeve because my child wanted to have a clear understanding of what was happening when, and he wanted to also mark them off. So we simplified a lot because we had to really focus on what was going on emotionally and mentally. So you can see here, we removed our entire morning routine and we simplified it to a morning walk. Art was a subject that he said he would like to do every single day. And it wasn't just that he wanted to do something fun and willy-nilly. This is something that he needs to help him emotionally and mentally. He also loves being outside, and being outside is very vital to him, and so is exercise. So we added riding bikes. And then from there, you guys, we have our math and snack time. Now, snack time, we were still accomplishing other things, but that weren't explicitly stated in this schedule. But for him, for the sake of his list here, it's just simplified to snack. After snack here, we had quiet time, phonics, and feelings journal. And our goal was to use this schedule for as long as we needed to reset and come back to a healthier mindset. And that actually only took about a week, where he and I touched base at the end of the week. And I was like, all right, how are you feeling with the schedule? And he said it's going well. And I said that, you know, I noticed by Friday that you were doing a little bit better. So we had this big conversation, and it came about that he and I both were in agreement that he was ready to move to a more regular schedule with modifications. So this brings me to schedule 4, the final schedule. And this one I'm really excited about because it's different. And this was created with my child, but it's more for me. Now, this one is more of a loop schedule. It's very different than the first 2 schedules, and definitely different than our temporary one. So here at the top here, we have the general flow. So we will be flowing through our work in this order. So we will do every morning, we'll start with our routine, which you will actually see here is different now. This has been modified to include the things that we currently need that we just discussed. So we will start with our walk, and we'll move directly into art. This beginning part to our day that we took from our last schedule has been working well with this season. And by season, I mean like 2 weeks. So we'll see how long that lasts. But anyway, so we go from walk to art into our conversation cards and our affirmations. And now we're moving into our feelings journal as part of our morning routine. And I will go over what that is in our September update here after. After that, we do our memory work. And once we finish our routine, we go into a selection from the Group A individual lessons. So we'll grab one block. So you can see here, these are going to be subjects that I need to work on individually with both children. So this is going to be covering both first grader and pre-kindergartner. Now they are going to select one of these blocks, and honestly, I don't care which one they select. But let's pretend that for the first block, they select this math and STEM block. What will happen is I will sit, let's say, with first grader first, and I will work with him one-on-one with his math work and his STEM work for the day. And while he is doing that, his brother, who's the pre-kindergartner, is going to have some tablet time or computer time, and he is working on phonics and stuff only. So he will do some phonics and stuff by himself for that first block, and then when we finish math and STEM, we will swap. Now my first grader has the option of doing code.org, typing.com, or phonics and stuff for that first block, but he will work on that while I then have that individualized attention with my pre-K-er, and my pre-K-er is doing math and STEM. But again, they get to choose which block they want to do. Now, going over these blocks, we have this first block that says phonics and spelling. My pre-kindergartner is only doing the phonics in that block. The second block is language arts and handwriting. My pre-K-er will do handwriting, and we will do a read aloud that is specifically tied to the program Layers of Learning. So it'll be a very specific read aloud, but nothing beyond that. The third block, math and STEM, my pre-K-er has both. And then for the final block here, it's science and logic. And my pre-K-er only has logic. So once we finish, both of us finish our Group A block, we then select and decide together which Group B block we want to do. And these are going to be group subjects that we are doing together. So I won't necessarily read all of these at the same time, but it's a mix of things that my children find to be very enjoyable, they're light, and they're fun. After we finish block B, going back to that flow, we will go outside, whether it be to ride bikes or to play, go to a park. We will go into block A. Now, from the rest of these blocks, for the next 2 block A's, my children will not have screen time. So we actually have a bin that we've put together of things that they can do individually while I am working with the other child. And if you guys are interested in seeing what's inside of our bin, comment down below and let me know. After we finish our next block A, we go into quiet time with a read aloud. We set the timer for 20 minutes and we work on our book. Then we have another block A, another block B, and then finally, I'm going to give them the option to play a game. If they don't want to play a game, I'm not going to push it. Otherwise, it's play for the rest of the day. Now, you'll notice I do not specifically state in this flow where things like snack and lunch live, but our snack times and lunch time are still going to include some educational things. So basically, we will just keep working on this flow, and when we get hungry, we pause our flow, we take our break, and then we eat, and then continue. We just pick up where we left off. So here we have in our snack time, we will be doing our poetry, our first language lessons together, and our homeschool languages, French. My kids are really enjoying the puppet for that. In our lunchtime, we will be reviewing our presidents. We have a whole thing that we're working on, and then we'll do our read aloud or an audiobook. Now, the other thing that this flow does not explicitly account for are our weekly activities, because we're going to handle that the exact same way that we handle our food breaks. So we will, for example, let's just say we're on Tuesday, we will get through as many of these flow sections until it is time for us to leave for piano. And then once we leave for piano, we go do our piano lesson, we come back, we just simply pick up where we left off. So it makes it a little bit more simplified and easy. I most definitely had to pause this because I was trying to math while I was explaining how often that means each block will be done. But basically, here's my very ugly graph. um, because these little pink numbers here are going to equate to those group A individual subjects. So because we're going to be doing 3 of those per day, this means in a month of like 20 days, for example, we will be doing 15 days of each of those subjects. So those are really like 4 days a week equivalent. And then for the other ones, the group subjects, you're only getting through them every other day. So group or blocks, for example, 1 and 2 would be done here, here, and here, but only twice the following week. So between that 2 and 3 day flip-flop, you're getting the equivalent of 10 days. So half of your month will have those individual blocks. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's mathing. But anyway, all of this to say, you guys, is that is the current schedule that we are working with, and it was created with my child, and it is including the things that he deemed to be important. So I'm really excited to give this one a shot for the month of October. So in our October update, we will talk all about how the schedule is working now, which kind of leads me into our final bit here of this video, which is our September update. So obviously September update saw a lot of schedule changes, but it still is going really well. We have completed now officially 45 days in our school year. Hooray! We are doing really, really well. And I think what we're going to do, we had 1 day off in the last month, but I think we are going to end up taking 1 or 2 days off in October just to kind of keep us refreshed and moving. And I think we'll do those as like an outing sort of day. So going to like an aquarium or a science center, things like that. So I'm not sure yet. I'm looking into it, but I think we're going to take 1 or 2 days off. Now, a big part of our drive for our schedule change had to do with emotions and emotional regulation. So there are 2 resources that I added here in the month of September to help with that, and it's going well. So in our schedule where it says feelings journal, it's not really a journal. It's 2 different resources. I just didn't know how to word it. So the first resource that we are using is this anger management workbook for kids. I'm not going to open it and show you the inside because we are actively writing in it. But I am really enjoying this. We've had some really good conversations, and I like this book because what it does is it really breaks down this single emotion, anger, which can be very overwhelming in the moment, right? And it's harder to feel calm and collected as a parent when your child is struggling with this emotion. And I really like it because you have these really good conversations, not in the heat of the moment. So we've been doing this as some of our feelings journal. Now, sometimes it's kind of apparent that sitting down and be like, all right, today we're going to talk about anger when we've had a really rough morning is not the solution. So I bought this book here. It's called the Play Therapy Playbook for Parents. There are over 100 different activities that are in here that are meant to guide you as the parent through emotional conversations and kind of like these grounding activities that you can do with your child. And we've done a couple of these this month. And I think what we are going to do for that time slot in our morning routine is we are going to pull in either this or this, depending on how the morning has gone. So if we have felt anger in the morning, it's not this. We'll be doing this. And we haven't felt anger in the morning and things are going smoothly, we will do this because I don't want to cloud our anger discussion with real anger, if that makes sense. So besides that, everything has been going well. We are chugging along. We have started our co-op, and that's going okay, but it is less than I was kind of expecting from an academic perspective. It is definitely way more focused on the social side, which is totally fine. My kids are hanging out with friends, and that's great. But it definitely, those days have been a little bit tricky to figure out the balance of things. But that does tie into what our curriculum, we'll say the curriculum of the month has been. The piece of curriculum that we are loving this month has been History Quest, the Ancient Times audiobook. So we listened to this audiobook on the way to our different activities, such as the co-op and back, and we are loving it so much, you guys. So much so that it has kind of modified how we are approaching our social studies for this school year. Our drive from our different activities is about 20 minutes long. And the way that this audiobook works is that each chapter is like between 15 and 20-ish minutes. So it's perfect timing. You have one chapter that's more of like a nonfiction explanation of the civilization that is being discussed, and that's followed by a history hop back in time. And I personally found it really fascinating and really interesting, and it has definitely engrossed my children. So we are currently on chapter 18 of History Quest. So what we are going to do is once we finish History Quest, we're going to circle through it again, and then we're going to go through it a little bit more, less like this introduction and more in depth. So right now for our history, we have modified, because we pulled in History Quest, we modified how we are using our resources. So right now we've gone through the first core knowledge unit, which is like maps and countries and things like that. And now we're doing the last core knowledge one from the first grade year, which has to do with like civics. So we're focusing on those right now as we are enjoying listening to History Quest. And then once we finish History Quest, we will start it over and we will go through the core knowledge units that correspond to the civilization that we're discussing. And not all of the civilizations in History Quest are covered by core knowledge. So when there's a gap, we will pull in one of the other units that don't have anything to do with civilizations, like the world religions, for example. So anyway, so we're going through those, and then we are going to be actually doing our history pockets from Evan Moore. It is their ancient civilization history pockets. So we will be officially starting our history pocket book. Anyway, that is it, you guys. That is September. That is the evolution of our schedule. Now, I was watching a video from Miss Geraldine. I'll put her channel below and in the description. And something she does in her videos, which is really fun, is she has you guys post an emoji of the video. So we're gonna give it a shot. Let's go ahead. If you have made it this far, add an emoji in the bottom of a globe so that I know that you are here, and comment down below. Let me know how your September was and what your thoughts are on your schedule, and I will talk to you soon. You guys have a great day. Bye, everyone.